Okay, so core strength is not something, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be on the radar of a ton of cyclists. It's not the first things people think of to improve their cycling abilities, like, oh, I'm gonna go work my core. But it is really important because there's a saying, you can't shoot a cannon from a canoe, meaning like in order to create power, you have to have a very strong base of support. So if you have what we call proximal stability, which is your core, that helps to create mobility and power distally, which would be your legs. So this is really important especially when it comes to maintaining a position on the bike for a long time. The longer you ride, having good core strength to be able to keep a good position. Sprinting, if you do any of that, or even just kind of like sprinting up a little bit of a hill, doesn't necessarily have to be in a race. And just also for climbing out of the saddle and creating a nice, stable, still midsection or core while your legs do the work. All that creates a more efficient cyclist and allows you to be able to ride longer, stronger, you name it. So let me show you my 3 favorite, I guess you would say, core exercises for cyclists. And the first one is what we call a Renegade Row. And you can use weights with this, even without weights, it's still a good exercise. You get into the push-up position, okay, and arms straight. You wanna make sure your back isn't bowing down like this in this push-up position. And then you can create, the difficulty of this can be changed based on how far apart your feet are, how narrow they are. And this really works on rotational stability of the core. So when you're here, and I'll just put my feet kind of in the middle position, what you want to do is you want to lift one arm to your side and put it back down, just like this, without a whole lot of like shifting from side to side, okay? Now, if you bring your feet in narrower, that becomes a lot harder to do, right? Okay? And then if you make it wider, that creates more stability and it becomes easier. So doing like 10 little rows to each side, maybe 2 rounds. If you use some weight, 10 or 15 pounds with some dumbbells, that'll make it harder too. So that's the first one, Renegade Row. You get into a plank position, rowing back and forth. The second one that I like to show people is what I call a knee elevated bird dog, okay? So a knee elevated bird dog is a bird dog is kind of a core and back strengthening exercise we do in physical therapy. But if you elevate the knees, right, and you get in this position and you bring your kneecaps just off the ground like this, in order to maintain stability, you really have to contract the stomach, okay, and your core to keep that back flat. So you can start with just how I did with just your legs doing it, and then to make it much harder, you're gonna add those arms, okay? This is a really difficult one to do at times. I'm doing okay today. All right, so knee elevated bird dog, again, working on core strength, rotational stability. And then the last one I like to do is the side plank, okay? And again, what's nice about all these, they have different levels of difficulty based on where you're at in your strength. So typical side plank would be holding a position from your elbow to your feet, just like this. And you can, the key with this a lot of times is making sure people kind of end up like in this position. Try to just make it straight, okay? Squeezing your glutes, nice straight line. You can make it a little easier by doing it just with your knees. Same sort of effect. There's a couple different variations of that, but those are just 2. And again, working on, that one works the obliques a little bit more. You'll contract your back and your stomach together. All those have a component of back and stomach contraction together, which your core is made up of both of those. And again, those will help you to maintain some nice proximal stability for cycling. The side plank, try to hold it for 30 seconds. Go back and forth, maybe 2 or 3 on each side. So give those core strengthening exercises a try. And it won't be like you'll notice immediate results when cycling, but long term, it really helps you become a really efficient cyclist.